Todd McShay released his NFL draft tier rankings, which are separate from his mock draft. They're the highest graded prospects, and there's only one player who is in tier 1, grading out with a grade of 95, and that is Ohio State's pass rusher extraordinaire, Chase Young. And Laura is back with us here. And Laura, we talked so much about Chase Young all year long, and I guess the question really comes down to if Tua Tagovailoa is believed by people to be healthy enough to play and to have a prognosis long-term that is favorable, is Chase Young the kind of good that makes you pass up on a quarterback at the number 2 spot?
It's a hard question to answer, and it is something that, I think the Redskins will grapple with and other teams as well, but specifically the Redskins in this case. I would still say, Greeny, that Chase Young is the best player right now in this draft, and it's the reason why elite grade is the only player with the in this class. The thing about Chase Young, and we've seen this with guys like Bosa, they can make instant impacts right now. And there's just a lot of players in this draft. Tua is certainly in this category where they have a very high ceiling, but right this second, you got to go with Chase Young. And here's the thing about him. When you talk about comparisons, he's an elite athlete, a freaky athlete. I mean, you just haven't seen athletic skill like what Chase Young brings to the table. He's not quite as twitchy as a Von Miller type, but what he brings to the table is a little more power plus quickness. So you're going to see that initial power and then the quickness that he brings after that, which is just a dynamic combination, a skill set that is so rare, you almost can't say you want to pass on that. And it's almost like what our friend Dan Orlovsky has even said about Tua. It's a risk to take him. It's a risk to pass him up. What I would say about Chase Young is it's not a risk to take him. That's a 100% success rate there. It's a risk to pass on him. And I do think that's what the Redskins will say with that number 2 pick. They can't risk missing out on Chase Young, an instant impactor for their defense.
Well, do I have Marcus? Is Marcus also with us here? I'd like to get his perspective on this, Swagoo, because it seems there are really 3 options. If you're Washington, you can take the quarterback if you want. I don't think anyone expects that. You can take Chase Young, and that's the easiest one, or you can trade out. And so my question to you is, if someone is willing to give you a significant package because they want to go up and get Tua, and you're going to get a bunch of stuff. I don't want to start guessing exactly what it would be, but we've seen what these quarterbacks have gone for in drafts in recent years. But it's going to mean you lose out on Chase Young. What do you do?
Gee, it would depend on who's trading up and where they are with that first pick. I wanted to ask Todd because I have another guy in this draft that I think is elite that I saw with my own eyes, and Dan was there and Laura as well. I think Isaiah Simmons is going to be special on the next level as well from Clemson. So if you were able to trade out of that pick and possibly still get Isaiah Simmons now, I know the Giants are hot and heavy on him, and he'll be a great fit for them. But the way he plays at all 3 tiers, to me, is what this league is starting to trend to. We saw Shaq Barrett, who's not huge, go crazy for sacks. We've seen guys move around, plug and play. Isaiah Simmons, to me, is special. But Chase Young is different because he rushes the passer. There are 3 premium positions in the NFL that you don't pass on when you have a surefire. That's the pass rusher, the passer, and the left tackle that can protect the passer. And Chase Young obviously falls in one of those categories. Now, if you're talking about going up and get Tua, and then you're determining, okay, we got a prospect that's a surefire guy that's going to be able to sack the quarterback for years to come, or we potentially have a quarterback that's going to be able to evade the rush and bring us to a Super Bowl. How do you weigh that decision? Then the medical comes into play. Sitting there with Jack Del Rio, going to a 4-3 in Washington, you do not trade out of the second pick to get Chase Young.
All right, let me put the quarterback grades up as well, because I think this was interesting. When I say Chase Young is the only one who has an elite tier grade, it tells you that Joe Burrow does not, although he's so close. He's 1 spot down. 95 makes you an elite player, and he's a 94. Since 2015, Jameis Winston was the only quarterback to get a rating from Scountsick of 95 or higher. You see, Burrow and Tua would be right up near the top of these players graded of all time. And so, Dan, I'll come to you on that because I know how high you are on Burrow, and everyone is, but you seem to be particularly so. In your view, is Burrow as good the kind of prospect that is as good as the other top guys we've seen come out in the draft the last 5 or 6 years?
Oh, absolutely, Greeny. And I've said this is why He does everything that is super important at the quarterback position so well. You talk about a guy that sees the field completely perfect. You talk about a guy who plays with zero panic. He can create on his own. He saves his team's yardage. I mean, there's so many plays. I think back to the Auburn game. He has a 3-play stretch in the Auburn game in the second quarter where he saves his offense 52 yards just by his instincts and reactions. It's a very Russell Wilson type of trait. And so I'm looking at Joe Burrow and saying the only thing that you could potentially use against him as a knock would be he doesn't have an absolute elite arm. Still really good, still plenty strong enough, but he doesn't have an elite arm. So he is as good a quarterback prospect as we have seen come out in a long time.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.